Okay, so Vindicta, thanks so much for taking the time today, man. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. It's an honor. High quality videos.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I think I'm gonna start with the customary early question. How'd you get into StarCraft in the first place?
Okay. So my dad, when Circuit City was around, my dad went with my older brother. I have an older brother, and my older brother's about 9 years older than I am. Um, my brother, I think it was his birthday or something like that, and they went to the Circuit City. I think to buy a game. My brother wanted a video game, and my dad was a bit of a gamer, like OG Sega and stuff like that. So when they went, I was actually there too. My brother chose like StarCraft. I think it was the first one. It wasn't even. It was either the first one or both of them together. At that point, it had already been out. It was like 2006 or seven or something like that.
Got you.
Um, and they bought it. And at the time, I was like really, really. Like I looked up a lot to my older brother as a kid. So my brother played StarCraft, and then I would watch him play StarCraft. And then because he played StarCraft, I wanted to play StarCraft. And then that's how I got into it. I really liked it. Obviously, I was like, it's terrible, and I had no idea there was a pro scene. Um, but that's how I first got introduced to like Brood War and StarCraft One. And of course, my brother played Terran. So then, what did I do? I also played Terran, because he played Terran. And then I don't know, like even from that point to like the release of StarCraft Two, even as a kid, like there was just something different about the game that I couldn't find in any other game. Like, so I was playing other games, between Brood War and um, StarCraft 2, and it was like, even as a kid, like StarCraft was like the game that I wanted to play, and like I would stop playing it for a bit, and then I would come back to it. So when StarCraft 2 came out, my older brother bought it, and that's how I got introduced to StarCraft 2. So it's just like, I guess StarCraft has always been a part of my life from like since I was like 6 years old.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. Have you ever gone back and played Brood War like as an adult?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely. I feel like even though I don't understand like the meta, obviously I'm mechanically much better at it. Um, but yeah, it's the same. It's really fun. Um, it is different than StarCraft 2, so obviously I will struggle with like the pathing of the units and stuff like that. But no, it still hits the same. I feel like.
Sick. That's really cool. I feel like how old are you? You're like early 20s, right?
Yeah, I'm turning 23 this year.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like a lot of the younger folks, like I'm 26, and like I feel like most of the people in like my age demographic are younger, never really played Brood War. So it's cool that you had that experience like quite young.
Definitely, definitely. Actually, obviously, completely changed my life. So
Yeah,
didn't know about it yet, but it's the start of something big apparently.
yeah. No, it's weird how things work out like that. Have you ever been like particularly invested or involved in any other like gaming communities?
Honestly, no. I've played a lot of different games. Your typical like first-person shooters. Like I tried Call of Duty, Battlefield. I don't know, CS:GO even. Um, League of Legends. I tried to, but never to the point that I am with StarCraft. I don't know. It's just never really felt that invested. But also, I guess it doesn't help because I have StarCraft too. So it's like, why would I do that if I just have StarCraft? And then obviously, it's my favorite game. So
Yeah.
I guess I never really gave it a shot either. Um, but no, never as invested, but definitely have played other games and I enjoy those games. It's just not, I feel like it doesn't stimulate my brain enough.
Yeah, no, it's StarCraft. It's like scratching your whole brain at the same time. The whole game. It's really something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah, I never got super invested into that. I'm trying to think if there's anything. No, just, yeah, never. I don't know how it is with other people. I feel like other people have at least invested a lot into like one other game, but not, I have not.
It depends on the person, but so you've been putting a lot of time into StarCraft 2, obviously for a while, but from what I understand, more so like full time over the past year or so. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So, no, go ahead.
Oh, so do you feel like you've made like really significant improvements in your play during that year?
I would say so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say so. I feel like I also got smarter about it. I like obviously I'm not even I'm turning 23, but like I feel like 3 years ago I would have in my head I would have been like, oh, I just need to play a lot of games, and then I feel like in the last year or so, I feel because I got a little bit older, I thought about it a little bit differently, and I was like, okay, I don't have to play nearly as much, but maybe I can do something else, like watch more games, watch my own replays and stuff like that. So I feel like even though I went full time in the last year, or yeah, starting last year, I feel like that wasn't necessarily the whole reason why I improved. I feel like a part of the reason why I improved was because I got smarter about what I needed to improve in and like how I was going to do it, kind of thing. But yeah,
No, that totally makes sense, and I feel like that's been there's been a bit of a paradigm shift, right, over the last like maybe like 5 to 8 years in StarCraft, but also like in the esports world at large, right? Because for so many years there was the Korean mentality of 12 hours a day, every day. That's a minimum, and that's how you get good. And of course, you do get good like that, but it's just not efficient.
yeah, it's not honestly between like the mental stuff and then like your physical stuff, your hands and your wrists, your shoulders and stuff like that. Yeah, it's actually just terrible for you in every way.
For sure.
And if I could go back and like redo it, I definitely wouldn't do that stuff because I definitely had that mentality. And it's kind of hard because I feel like within the community, especially if you read forums and stuff like that, there's always a lot of people who talk about when it comes to improvement as like, oh, you have to play, Koreans are playing 10 12 hours a day, the foreigners who got as good as the Koreans are playing 10 12 hours a day. And while that might be true for some people, I feel like that's not necessarily, that doesn't capture the whole story. um and so I had to figure that one out on my own, apparently. And I'm somebody who actually like takes a lot of time to learn things, and like you could tell me it and then I'd probably listen to you, but then I would still want to experience it for myself. So then I would do it, and then I realized, wow, they were right. That's not how you're supposed to do it, or like maybe this isn't the right way to do it. But you would have told me anyway. But I was like, I still need to experience it for myself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but yeah, within the last year, it's been super sick. Obviously, I've had more time because I finished school, so I decided to give it a crack, and it's been going great. Can't complain at all. Don't regret it. For sure.
What led you to start investing more time into StarCraft at a time when the scene is sort of like in a weird place?
For me, it's like my own personal thing. Like, I guess that's obvious, but like, I wanted to do this for myself in the sense of like, I just wanted to try it out for a year and see what could happen. Like, what could I do, kind of thing. It is a little bit tough because I think, obviously, like you said, the game's kind of in a weird place, and one of the big things to do with that is like a money thing. I think like going pro in the game right now is really hard. Not that there's not any tournaments or something like that to play in, but it's like I feel like you're taking a risk depending on your situation. I can tell you right now, like thankfully I didn't graduate any debt, so I don't have like fuck I need to get a job and like do all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just kind of like give it a shot. I got nothing to worry about. Um, so yeah, because of that, because of like the lower price pools and the tournaments, and maybe not a whole lot of options in terms of teams, you definitely have to diversify and what you're doing in the game. So that's why you see a lot of people getting into YouTube, people doing coaching and stuff like that, even as pros. I think before you didn't have to do that necessarily, but I think now if you want to kind of maintain the lifestyle or just, do what you love, you have to kind of like diversify in that regard. So I've had to do a bit of that. And that's just a part of like, I don't know, the scenario or the situation we're in right now.
That sort of leads me to like my next question, right? It seems like coaching has been a pretty significant thing for you during this sort of full time period. Does it do a lot to help support you?
Yeah, it does a lot. It's actually funny you asked me this too, because I just recently did like a little study. I'm trying to get into data analytics when I finish playing StarCraft. And so I wanted to do like a little thing with my Twitch data and the money I'm making, since I'm making money from different things. Coaching is definitely a big part of it. I would say maybe like 20% of the money I make, or 30% of the money I make, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a really big amount. Of course, I like doing it, so that's why I do it. A lot of people don't like doing it, or it's not really their thing. So, at that point, it's kind of tough. But it's nice that I also like doing it, and it makes me a good bit of money. It's also a way to get yourself out there. People find out about your stream through coaching or like YouTube videos and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a good excuse to talk about StarCraft, so I'm not complaining. I can't tell you that I haven't had bad experiences coaching certain people, so it's not always like a positive experience, I guess. But yeah, it's helped me a lot, and it's something that like I said, I like doing it, but it's also something I needed to do because it's just like I said, if I want to be a pro gamer, I need to like make some money from other stuff, and it just happens to be the case for that too.
Yeah, no, it's hard to make a living, man. Would you say there's a specific like skill floor that somebody needs to be at before coaching really helps them?
Honestly, no. You hear a lot of people say, "Oh, why would you get coaching if you're like silver or gold or something like that?" And I think that's like a bad way of looking at it. I think it's just a matter of what kind of coaching you get. You know, somebody who's silver, it's gonna need more mechanical stuff. Sometimes people need help setting up the fundamentals and having that explained to them. Dude, I wish I had that because nobody did that for me. So I had like so many bad habits when I was in Masters League because of like all the stuff I didn't do correct before. So I just think it depends on what you're trying to get out of the coaching. And I would say that there's no skill like floor that you need to be in. I've coached silver people. I've coached people who are like basically in Grandmaster 4.9, 5K kind of thing. So everyone benefits to a certain degree. I do think you do have to kind of what's the word like I don't want to say vouch for yourself, but like look out for yourself in the sense of like that you're also trying to get the things that you want out of coaching too. It's like a two-way street. You know, like if you don't tell me what you're also interested in, is kind of hard because I'll just assume that you're interested in learning certain things. But then what if you're looking for something else? I don't know if that makes sense, but
Oh, it does.
so yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, it's fun. Nevertheless, it's fun, and yeah, anybody can get coaching. Don't let those people on Reddit tell you can't.
So by the sounds of it, StarCraft has been like totally full time for you during the last
Yeah,
year or so.
yeah, it has been.
Nice.
Yeah.
How would you compare yourself to other like NA pros like the Special, Scarlet, Estrella, Trigger?
I guess apart from Trigger, I feel like they're all more experienced than I am, and I think they're also a little bit older than me, right? So I feel like they've had a lot more time to figure it out, and the game's still kind of being, um, I don't want to use the word alive, but like, you know, it's like there was more tournaments and stuff like that, so they had more time to kind of like figure it out and then be able to play those big tournaments. I feel like I'm kind of at the end of an era kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I feel like because they're veterans, it's a bit tough to compete with them. Not that I can't do it, but I have to like catching up to do. You know, like I'm at a good enough level where I can maybe like take a map off them in a tournament, like which I have, or like ladder games or stuff like that. But the overall consistency, that's a big thing. And you know, with Trigger, I think Trigger is just like really talented, and he obviously improved a lot really fast. So he's like kind of an anomaly. I feel like he's
Yeah.
the guy who actually did all that catching up, and you know, a part of it, not that working hard won't get you to the places you want to be, but being talented in something definitely helps you do it faster. Which is what I feel like he did. So he's got a mix of like working hard plus the talent combined. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm somebody who takes a little bit longer to learn things and figure things out. So I feel like I'm taking a little bit longer. So if it feels like Trigger has kind of passed me in that regard because of that. I'm still doing some catching up there, but not to say that I'm not improving, but I guess I'm like moving a little bit slower. Yeah.
How do you gauge your improvement?
Consistency. Before it was like, oh, I need to get a new MMR threshold or something like that, or oh, I need to maybe do good in one particular tournament. But for me, it's actually I actually think it's consistency. If I feel like I'm playing well for like a month straight or a couple of weeks straight, and I'm doing the things that I was trying to practice consistently, that's good. That means that I've actually learned the things. Sometimes I'll like peak at a certain MMR and I'll be like, wow, this is feeling pretty good. But I have to like remind myself that I might like the next day, if I lose 5 games in a row, then there's something going on, right? I might have been in the zone for one day, but I need to make this consistent. So for me, it's just consistency, whether it be like doing decent in tournaments consistently or ladder games consistently or practice, whatever it is. It's all consistency for me. Yeah, because I'm somebody who will do like really good and then suddenly do really bad, and that's a whole part of an issue that I have too.
What would you say really differentiates your play from the more premier Terrans like your Clems and Hero Marines?
I would say not speed but accuracy. Like if I watch Clem play, I feel like I'm fast enough to do the stuff he does, but he's way more accurate than I am, and he's also more consistent than I am. So I think that plus game knowledge is kind of where I'm at. So they like I'll watch his stream and he'll like say certain comments and like I'll be like, wow, I never thought about it that way or something like that. Same with Hero Marine. So I feel like it's those two things. They're just a little bit more accurate, a little bit more consistent, and they have more game knowledge. And even if you consider like even me as a pro gamer, I would benefit a lot from like getting even coaching from them or talking to them because they're looking at the game differently than I am. And that's something that's been helping me a lot. It's something that I need to keep doing. Even from other people who are like off racing and stuff like that or other races. Um, yeah, I think it's that. Like same thing. Like, can I take a game off them? Sure. If I'm 100% and maybe they're playing a little bit worse. um, but yeah, it's those two things, and unfortunately, like those are actually things are really important and clearly right because they are definitely much better than I am. So it's a huge thing that I need to kind of start improving at, or talking to them and learning from them. Because it can be kind of hard to learn on your own. I'm a very stubborn person too, so I'll really try to do it myself first before I ask for help. And that's a part of the things I was talking about earlier. Like I realized it's probably not a good idea, and why not? Actually, the reason why I started doing it was because Maru. I can't remember where I heard it from. It was like an interview or something like that with somebody, and basically Maru was started asking other people for suggestions, which he didn't do before, and like help. Dude, I really can't remember, but I definitely heard that. 100% heard that, and that got me thinking. And I was like, because that was at a time when he was winning all the GSLs. I think when he won like those 3 GSLs in a row or something like that. It was crazy. It was
2018 or 17.
yeah, I think
Something like
2018.
that?
Yeah, 2018 or so. Yeah, and then I was like, dang, maybe I should start doing that. So, and you would think that's pretty like obvious, but yeah, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think sometimes there's a mentality of like wanting to keep strats private, right? Because you're competing against other people, and I think there's maybe a pride thing for some people too, right? Like they don't want to necessarily admit to themselves that somebody else figured out some part of the game better than they did.
Yeah, I would agree with that actually. That's definitely part of the reason I didn't do it. So, but yeah, so I mean, just like hearing that from obviously somebody as good as him, just got the hamster in my brain started spinning.
No, that's cool. It's nice to have a moment of clarity like that. Do you have any specific goals for 2023, just like as a player?
I would like to do good. I would like to be more consistent, of course, but I think the way like a tournament or something. I like to do really good in Atlanta at the end of this year. I think that's what I'm holding out for. Recently I've not been playing very good. And at first I was getting a little bit emo about it because then I was like, dang, like I don't know if there's gonna be any more tournaments next year or what's gonna happen during this year kind of thing. But then I was like, you know what? Atlanta's in December. So I actually have time. Like if I make sure to keep trying now, things might change for me. So, between here and then, I'm gonna keep trying to maybe win an NA Cup or something like that. Take out some good people, and that's fine with me. Like I'll gladly take that. And then have maybe a big showing in Atlanta at the end of the year would be really nice too. And I could be happy with that. So, I guess be a little bit realistic, but also shoot for a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Is a big thing. So yeah, but I think I'm just gonna try my best. I do have to like
for the fans.
yeah, show good games for the fans, of course, the classic. But yeah, just be realistic too. I stream a lot, I coach a lot, and those are things that I do kind of have to do to survive, like to eat and stuff like that. So I can't be playing even 8 hours a day straight or be 100% focused on just me. So I also kind of have to keep that in mind. But yeah, that's it. Maybe grow my stream too, I guess, is a big thing I'd like to do during this time. Since it's going pretty good for me.
Awesome. Have you enjoyed your opportunity to compete in the WTL?
Yeah, dude, it's so sick. Actually, you can see right here the gift box from last season. Yeah, I'm actually in it. And when I was on the Cranky Ducklings, they bought it for me. I wasn't gonna buy it originally because like $60, and I was like, it's fine. But then they got it for me, and actually super happy they did because I think if I didn't get it, I would have regretted it. It's super nice.
That's awesome.
I really wanted to play in WTL for a long time actually. When I was on Alpha X, I also wanted to play in WTL. I never got the chance to, unfortunately. And to be honest, it did kind of like hurt a little bit because I felt like maybe I wasn't improving enough, or maybe I wasn't good enough, kind of thing. So it kind of stung a bit, and I ended up leaving Alpha X and I joined the Cranky Ducklings, and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna play in the WTL." You know, to me, Dolan, Patty Mac, probably a team you would not expect to make it at all. And then that's when I had a really good qualifier run, and then that qualifier run I think was a really big breakthrough mentally. It was kind of like, oh shoot, I can actually do this. And then, I wasn't playing like the best teams or taking on the best teams, but it was a consistency. It was like, dude, like we went through this whole qualifier and I was actually winning. And I'm playing these games like 4 a.m. because it's like super early for me. And I'm like, I can do it. So like I kept practicing. I was doing my thing. And yeah, I did really well. And because I did really well, I got to be in the WTL gift box. And I thought that was super cool. So,
Yeah, that's dope.
I'm playing again this season, and I'm gonna try my best, of course, as always. But I WTL like gave me the opportunity to, I guess, show good games for the fans, but also for myself. And obviously, without that opportunity, I don't know what would have happened. So I guess shout out to the Cranky Ducklings, but also to WTL, the organizers and stuff like that, for giving us the opportunity to play in those tournaments when maybe there's not a lot throughout the year for maybe someone like me to play in. I'm not going to go to like DreamHack Sweden because it's just too far away, really expensive, and the prize money obviously has been cut down. But play WTL, so
yeah,
shout out to them.
Yeah, no, SC Boy, those guys, they do a lot. They do a lot for the scene.
Oh yeah.
So would you call yourself an ace for Plat Heroes? And if not you, then who?
I would say no. I would say not. I think right now DNS as our ace. He's playing really good, and I don't know. I think he's not even full time. I'm pretty sure he's doing something else too. But DNS is playing really well, and that's actually kind of nice to see because I think a lot of people, when they think of DNS, they think of somebody who's like, yeah, he's decent and consistent, but you wouldn't actually put him like super high compared to other European pros, right? Especially as of late. But he's been playing really well this season, and he's carrying us. So maybe I'll get out of my rut here, and I'll start doing well. But I think right now I would say it's DNS, and I'm not complaining. That's good with me.
Yeah. No, it's always nice to have somebody that you feel like can help you out when you're not doing so hot.
Oh yeah. I feel like I didn't have the opportunity with the Cranky Ducklings. No offense to Patty Mac or Dolan, but it was kind of like especially because it's like oh, it's okay, Migs is gonna do it, or we'll put Migs as ace. Like I would get those DMs like, okay, you're gonna ace. I'm like, damn it. Whatever, because maybe this particular day I wasn't feeling really good. Plus, I'm waking up at 4 a.m. So I'm like, dude, I don't know. I don't think I can do this. So yeah, like you said, it's nice that if I'm not feeling well, somebody else can do it. And DNS and Shadone are doing great. So shout out to them.
Yeah, no, it's been cool to see you guys have some nice performances. It's gives a bit of spice to the results.
Yeah, those big teams, man.
Yeah.
Gotta show them what's up.
How do you feel about the overall balance of StarCraft 2 at the moment?
Overall balance, man. My Twitch subscribers are gonna hate me for this, but Protoss is kind of struggling right now.
Yeah.
And personally, I've like historically I've always struggled against Protoss, like TVP, but I think TVP is really good for tearing at the pro level right now. So you've probably heard a lot of like, wow, there's so many Protoss players in like top 30 Europe, but you only really hear about Max Packs, right? Showtime, of course, but Max Packs kind of been the one that's hot right now.
Yeah.
And even Hero is like, some days I feel like he's playing sick, and then some days he's playing like, I don't know, like he lost both his hands or something. Like the dude's kind of all over the place. Yeah, and like I'll watch the games that he plays, and he does like crazy, like out of pocket builds, and I think he's just trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
But it's just funny to see. But yeah, Protoss super struggling right now. I think Terran's pretty strong. And I think Zerg is the strongest. I feel like Zerg players have really figured it out. Like Zerg is a reactionary race, and if you get a lot of scouting done and good scouting done, and you know your responses, obviously that's still hard to do. I'm not saying that's not hard to do, but I feel like if you get to the point where you can like master those things, then you become like Cyril, Cyril or Raynor, and they're both different too, right? Like one plays a lot more aggressive than the other.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they still are very good at reading stuff and then reacting perfectly against it and being like really consistent with that. And I feel like that's what it takes to be a really good Zerg player. So yeah, I think Zerg is at the top, Protoss at the bottom, and I hope we have a balanced patch soonish because I do feel like the meta is a little stale right now. Especially with like, I feel it's like every TVZ is 20 plus minutes, and Protoss players are like 4K blinking every game, and it's kind of because it's good, like I can't even blame them. It's a perfect build, like so. Yeah, it feels a little bit stale, and hopefully something changes, but I actually don't know anything about that, so
You
so I
know,
can't say.
it's interesting. Like, I was talking to Trigger recently, and he was telling me that he thinks like, 2-gate blink versus Terran is like a safe opening every single game. Would you agree with that? Do you think that like because you were saying that you feel like Terran has a quite a favorable approach in that matchup right now. So I guess my question is what do you feel like is giving Terran the upper hand?
I think it has to do with the variety. I think Terran has a lot of different openers they can play, and it feels like they're kind of taking charge. So Protoss players have to like they're like at the mercy of whatever the Terran wants to do. So an example would be like if a Protoss player probe scouts and Terran has 2 gases before their natural command center. That's something aggressive, but you don't know what it is. And there's like 4 different things it could be. So I feel like Protoss players are very limited on what they can do. So like you said, the two gate into a third, very safe. You can react to a variety of different things. But then it kind of sucks that you have to keep playing that, right? So I feel like what 4-gate blink does is like 4-gate blink lets the Protoss take control, and with good micro, like they can win a lot of different scenarios, right? But only having those 2 builds, I feel like that really sucks. So and I actually think that's a part of the reason why Showtime is not doing particularly well, because Showtime is the kind of guy to play really, really standard, and like the wall, right? The whole meme with the wall, like that was true, like that, and that still is true. Like that's how he likes to play, but I feel like right now you need to play like hero and max packs, which is like crazy stuff, and kind of get out there to not let the Terran bully you, because I feel like otherwise you're at the mercy of whatever they want to do, and they will, especially the Korean Terrans, they will do whatever they want. Double gas, 3 racks, anything, they will do it all, and they'll do it great too. So it's like I feel like you need to kind of get in their face a bit, but it's intimidating too, definitely.
Yeah, no, I feel like in like early 2022, late 2021, when Hero sort of made his reemergence as a top tier player again. Yeah, 100%. It seemed like every single Protoss was just playing super standard every game and getting outpaced, and it seemed like his approach to the game was to, put on tons of pressure, but on the back of that, grow a huge economy in sort of like the Zerg fashion, and that seemed like to revolutionize Protoss in the modern era.
Yeah. And yeah, it's the same thing. PvZ and TVP, it's like the same, right? Like against Zerg, in your face, blink soccer, probes behind it, gateway style. Of course, it's being figured out, obviously,
Yeah.
but yeah, exactly that. Yeah, actually, I don't know what Protoss players would have done if Hero didn't come back.
Yeah, it was crazy because like it seemed like everybody was totally struggling, and he changed the matchup in like a few months. It was all matchups
Yeah.
for Protoss. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, right? Like going back to what we were talking about earlier with how people view the game. Like it took one guy to like come back from the military and just like, hey, what we didn't think about it like this. And it's not like you didn't have other Protoss players. I mean, you had Trap before he went to the military, Creator, Classic came back, stuff like that. But Hero's just like, yeah, do it like this. And I'm like, whoa, So I feel like that's why you need to talk to people and then like communicate, even though you might play them in a ladder game or in a tournament at some point. Like I think for the overall like advancement of the meta and maybe personal success is really good to talk about that stuff and brainstorm ideas.
The thing is, I feel like Protoss especially lost a lot of the heavy hitter and like innovative players, and they didn't come back. Like Stats, like Rain, a long time ago, Parting, because your Stats and the Rains of the world that they figure out like, okay, this is like the way to play. This is the stock standard, and if you want to get to the highest levels, and then you have your partings who obviously have the more aggressive approach to it, generally speaking. And Protoss lost all of those minds over the course of like a couple years, and it is crazy, like you said, to see how much of a meta shift and a totally different approach to the game you see from one person sort of fine tuning a couple of their ideas.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. You're right. Like partying and stats were the people that were like advancing Protoss meta or like shifting to
Hmm.
Protoss meta, and they kind of just like both disappeared. And each their own way, right? Like stats is more defensive, and then partying's more aggressive. Dang, I never really thought about that. That's actually a really good point. I feel like Terran hasn't had that. I still have like
Yep.
we still have really good Terran players. You got your Marus, your Cures, even Bunny. Yeah.
Yeah, the only
No, that's a
really
really
significant like Terran mine that left and hasn't really gotten back to that level is like TY, and then
yeah.
obviously the really old school guys like Bomber and stuff like that. But whatever, that's like ancient history at this point. But yeah, it's like exactly like the scene kept Maru, the scene kept Gumiho to give those alternative strategies and stuff like that. But Protoss lost most of those dudes, and Hero's kind of the only one that came back and became a super high level player again, right? Classic's kind of doing that, but he's not quite there.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And I feel like Classic is kind of like benefiting from the backs of like Hero and Max packs, like seeing what they're doing and then just doing it just as good as they are, but not necessarily going out of its way to like do things that innovative things.
Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, Protoss tough place, man. I hate the laser guys, but I gotta admit it.
So, what would you say are your like best and worst matchups right now?
I think my best is TVZ. I think as a player, I'm mechanically very good, and being good at TVZ is all about mechanics. Being fast, macroing, some micro, of course, a late game unit control, stuff like that. I think it's all the things I'm really good at. So TVZ is definitely my best matchup. Um, TVT, yeah, second, and then TVP is my worst matchup. Which you would think is kind of weird because there's definitely a lot more Protoss players than any other race. So like I've been playing a lot of TVPs. But that's the matchup I have like the hardest time like wrapping my head around, like finding out where I am in the game, how far ahead or how far behind I am, and then knowing what to do. I'm like, dude, there's like so many options I don't even know. So, but yeah, and so TVP is the one where I need to ask people for the most help. But TVZ, I've been able to just like I'll watch like whatever Clem does, and I'll copy it, to the best of my ability, and just try to improve my overall like accuracy and like my execution. But I would say like TVZ is the one matchup where you can get away with that, and it's fun to watch for that reason. I think is like people can really demonstrate how good they are with their speed and their micro.
Yeah, I think there's also just a lot of very classic army interactions that we see in
Yeah,
TVZ, right? And that's always
yeah,
been like super fun. Like Banelings makes games very bombastic. Siege tanks give you a very traditional sense of zone control and sort of sieging, right, a base as opposed to sort of darting in and killing some stuff. It
yeah,
really, yeah, it's a very like traditional army, traditional RTS tactics that the most I think we get to see in TVZ. It's kind of why it's always been like one of the most loved matchups by the fans.
yeah. I agree with that. It's been entertaining for like freaking 10 years now. Like,
Yeah.
and like what's changed? Build orders, maybe some general strategy, but the overall mechanical aspects of it have not changed. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. If I could play it every day, all day, honestly, I probably would. I feel like it's what StarCraft is all about
Yeah.
in that matchup.
So, have you been following the development of Stormgate?
Yes, not like super in detail, but if there's an announcement on Twitter or something like that, like I'll take a look at it. Yeah.
Is there anything you're particularly excited about with that game?
Mm, okay, two things. Number one, and at this point is very subjective, but I saw a lot of backlash against the artwork, the overall artwork of the game. I actually really like it. People are saying it looks very cartoony and stuff like that. I really like the artwork. I'm excited for the artwork. I know it's kind of random. It
Oh
has
no, I
nothing to
think
do
it's
with the
really
gameplay.
charming. Did you see that graphic they released recently with a bunch of the like flying demon units that a lot of them have like one eye. And
Yeah,
some
yeah,
yeah, I want to fly around and kill stuff with those real bad.
yeah. Yeah, it looks cool. Like it still looks a bit demonic and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
it's like a little bit more like cartoony, anime-ish.
yeah.
And I like it. I like the artwork.
I think that
Okay,
has a
that is
broader appeal, like to a
yeah,
lot of casuals. They see that and they're like, oh, that's kind of cute and cool.
and that's good, right? Because if you want people, especially now, to get into the RTS, I feel like that art style is kind of like the fashion right now.
Yeah,
So if you add that, I think it's a good way to get people to who maybe have not played RTS to get into the game, especially probably like younger people, right? Who don't have experience with other RTSs. So I think apart from like it looking good to me, I think it's a good choice overall for like the sake of the game. Um, but that aside, I really like how they're trying to make it as responsive as StarCraft. Like that's been a huge thing for me when it comes to playing other RTSs. I'll play like AoE, and it's like the unit control just feels so clunky
Mm-hmm.
and slow. And maybe if it wasn't as clunky, I would be okay with it. But the thing is, just the units just don't feel as responsive, and it gets really hard for me to play the game because I'm so used to like the fluidness of the StarCraft units that when I try to play the games, I feel like they don't do the stuff that I want. The units don't do the things that I want them to do, or in the way that I feel like they could do it. So I'm really excited because I think that Stormgate is going to do that, and then everything will be really responsive compared to, at least I hope they do that. I'm pretty sure they will though. Compared to the other RTSs, and that alone is enough to get me to be hyped about the game. I can't say like that because of that it's going to be like super good and it's going to pop off and that kind of stuff. But I think the gameplay aspect of it is what I'm most excited for. And like I think there was like a picture of like the console, the in-game console, like the mini map was like that looked pretty nice too, and it looks like simplified, but it had all your essential elements in it. So yeah, honestly, I am really excited about the game. Um, can't come out any sooner. But I'm actually okay if they take their time with it because I think that a lot of games these days are kind of rushed.
Yep.
And you always see those memes, especially on Twitter. It's like of X game like came out and it's absolutely terrible. I don't want that to happen, so I hope they take their time with it. It's okay. Even if I'm 30, I'll play with it. I won't be like I don't think I'll be as fast, but hey, I'll give it a shot, like that kind of thing. But yeah, super hyped.
A lot of half baked games come out, and even if they could be a good game through patches and stuff, it creates such a negative public perception at release, and it ends up really, I think, hurting people's opinion of it, right? Because like I feel like once there's a really negative prevailing opinion about something, like in the general public, it kind of never goes away.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that happened with Cyberpunk. I think the game is better now. It's probably like actually playable. I'm sure. I think it's like missing a lot of elements that they were gonna add to the game, but they didn't end up doing. But as soon as like it became an absolute failure at the beginning, I didn't even want to bother trying it. So yeah, that it's a good way of killing your own game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, right?
Yeah, no, and I think that's great though, because it seems like that's exactly what they're not doing, right? Super
Yeah,
taking
yeah,
their
yeah.
time, and just putting things out there in bits and pieces, and also it seems like they're really focused on community feedback and
Yeah.
making sure that they're making as many people happy as possible without compromising their core beliefs.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And you can see it on Twitter too. Like they got Pig in there, Zombie Grub, a lot of content creators who are also big parts of the scene. Whether they're casters or pro players or whatever, they have kind of like everybody. And yeah, that's exactly what they need.
Do
And I think that means they're gonna do good.
do you think like 2v2 3v3 like RTS has a place at the highest level? Do you think that we could see like I guess for you personally, like do you think you would participate in team RTS games at a competitive level?
Maybe like a 2v2. I really can't imagine doing more than a 2v2. And I think a part of why I can't imagine it is not even so much that because it's not possible. I just haven't seen it yet, so I can't even really like say as to whether it be good or not. But like StarCraft 2 TV2 tournaments, I feel like those are fun to watch and it can be interesting to watch, especially depending on the team.
Yeah.
Because some teams, like one team is kind of random, but like one team that I always feel like is really creative is Youth Thermal and Goblin, and they like to play 2v2 tournaments a lot together whenever they pop up, and they always do like really cool stuff. So I feel like if you had teams like them, it's pretty sick. But yeah, I mean, I would be down to try it. I actually think that would be pretty cool. And I could definitely see 2v2 being a thing. I don't know about like 3v3 plus kind of game mode stuff. But yeah, I think it's just because I've never seen it before, so I can't really imagine it. But it would be sick. I think it would be pretty sick.
I think it goes a long way to getting the casual people into the game, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't want to play 1v1 games. Like there's a reason like tennis and boxing are not as popular as football and soccer, right? Like people like team games. People like doing stuff with their friends. And when it's like obviously StarCraft is awesome, but like considering 1v1 the only like serious format, I think is a huge detriment to the game, right? Like I think for the most part, the public perception of StarCraft and 1 and 2 has always been that like it's a 1v1 game and there are other modes.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a bad decision for Stormgate, at least from like a mass market appeal. I don't think a 1v1 game, at least in the RTS or like outside of like card games, I don't think a 1v1 game is going to capture the hearts of millions like what we're
Yeah.
hoping this game could do.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I agree with that.
but so I guess I think I probably know the answer to this. But like, so if there's a developed pro scene, do you think you would try to dedicate like full time to Stormgate the way you have with StarCraft?
Honestly, probably not. Um, I I would like to. I definitely would like to. If there was a way, I don't know, like if my stream somehow got big and it was completely like a self-sustainable lifestyle, I would definitely give it a shot. And I probably will try to play it competitively, but not like 8 hours a day kind of thing. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just I feel like I am doing okay financially now with StarCraft 2, and but whenever this game comes out, whether it's like 2 or 3 years from now, I really do want to be better off at that point. Just like your typical stuff, right? Like maybe for a lot of people want to buy a house, like I want to buy a house at some point,
Yeah,
something like that. So, and unfortunately, I just don't think unless I literally become Artosis times 5, maybe I'll be able to buy a house
yeah,
for streaming and video games. But it's hard, and I don't want to put all my hands in the one card there, so or one move there. So yeah, but I'll stream it. I'm definitely planning on streaming it still, and giving it a go, and maybe I'll actually get good enough to win some money from it and not have to play it full time, kind of thing. So just because maybe the skills will translate over better, who knows? But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember like just towards the end of like Stefano's career, where he was like he dropped, wasn't a full time player and he was going to school, but then he just like showed up to I think it was like Home Story Cup or something and just won, or maybe it wasn't Home Story Cup, but he made a really deep run in something after he was already like retired from the game, and
yeah,
conceptually I think that's funny that like you would just like go play video games for a weekend and win a couple grand, even though you're not even really practicing the game that much.
yeah. That's not really familiar, and it goes to show like some people are just insanely talented at this kind of stuff. Like they're just it's like this is what they're good at, and like I don't know. Hope that happens to me, but maybe I'll be Stefano in Stormgate minus the partying though.
No, that'd be sick. I would love to see you be the Stefano of Stormgate. Minus
Would be
the
sick.
partying, yeah, exactly, and other negative stuff.
Oh,
But
that guy is so funny.
oh yeah,
Great.
I love Stefano. That was like, from a personality perspective, I think the biggest loss we ever saw from the community. Like, he was truly a rock star, like esports guy, and there's just not a lot like that.
Yeah, he's very charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that about wraps us up here. So thanks so much for taking the time. Any closing words?
Yes. Shout out. I gotta like order this properly. Sorry, stream. Shout out to my team, Platinum Heroes. They've been super great to me. I honestly great community. It remind AlphaX when they first kind of started were very community based, very fun. Obviously, they got a lot more professional, which is great. But Platinum Heroes reminds me a lot of that. Very close knit community. So shout out to them. I feel very at home here. And then of course shout out to my stream, because if I don't give them a shout out, they will make fun of me and bully me for the next 2 weeks. And I don't want to deal with that. So shout out to them. And shout out to you for making this sick content. I've been watching all the videos.
Oh, thank you,
It's been
man.
great.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a very, very positive reception. I was surprised. When I first started making videos, I thought I would get like 150 views, because whatever. I didn't necessarily think the StarCraft community was at a place to support a new creator just all of a sudden.
Uh-huh.
But the reception's been awesome, and I've been really happy.
Yeah,
So thank you.
I feel like your videos have been doing pretty well. Yeah, you got even like in the thousands, right?
Yeah,
For
generally.
viewership? Yeah. You
Yeah,
got more
yeah.
viewers than me, man. What the heck?
I'm getting close to YouTube monetization, but I'm just lagging with the subscribers. I have like 5,000 watch hours on for YouTube, but I don't have I haven't hit that 1,000 subscriber threshold yet. So
You heard it, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Please help my man. We need him. The scene needs people like this. Come on, guys.
Thanks so much,
Tell
man.
him.
Yeah, that about does it.
Nice. Very nice.